Hey guys, welcome back. So, Bitmaster here, and I'm going to be showing you guys in this tutorial how you can essentially do the exact same thing that we just got through doing in another video, but with a different socket library. So last time, if you guys remember, or if you watched it or didn't watch it, whatever, we used the TClientSocket and the TServerSocket WinSock wrapper components, which are legacy and mainly only used for older stuff, by the way, when it comes to internet programming, to create a server which could contain and hold multiple clients and be able to communicate with those clients in two different ways. Way number one was being able to broadcast messages out to everyone connected, and number two was able to communicate only with a single selected client. This is useful for people to learn because if you're going to write just anything over the network or the internet, it's useful to be able to know how to control your server so that you're only speaking with whatever socket connections you want to be speaking with. So you guys can take this knowledge and expand it. I know I have. So let's get started. To start with, I would like to theme both applications because this is YouTube. We want to make it look cool, right? So let's go to Project Options, and we're going to theme our application probably a dark color. Let's go with carbon. So I'm going to just go with carbon, and I'm going to do the same for the client project. So let's just go ahead and get this up, and then we'll go ahead and start doing the meat of the application. So let's do carbon, save, and on this we're going to need a client since we're messing with the client itself on this end. Let's look around for the DzSockets or DzSocket library. Oh, by the way, before I continue, if you guys have Delphi installed and you don't have the sockets, you can get them from this this link here at GitHub. It's called DzSocket. You'll just download the zip file and then install the component into Delphi. To install it, I think he may have included some instructions down here. It's really simple. It's just the same way you install every Delphi component. You just compile the package, install it, and you're done. Well, also add the library path and whatnot. Okay, let's get back to it. So back on this, we're going to put a client socket on the form. We're going to grab ourselves a button. I'm just going to stick with regular components to keep things simple for you guys. So just a button. Let's go ahead and change its caption property to set nick connect, and then we're going to go ahead and grab an edit box. So let's grab an edit box, clear it out. We'll just make it the length of the button. It really doesn't matter. Here, I'll put it a little bit bigger. So that's pretty much that. And then we're going to call the client socket's name property client socket. So whenever we click the button, we want to say self.clientsocket.host will be equivalent to something. Self.clientsocket.port will be equivalent to 3434. Self.clientsocket.open or connect will connect the socket. For the host where we're going to actually connect to, since this is a testing application, we're going to connect to ourselves, so that's just localhost. Or you can type in 127.0.0.1. But I'm just typing localhost because I happen to know it does resolve directly to 127.0.0.1. So that connects the socket, and it's going to also send over our nickname. So whenever the client socket detects that it is connected to the server, we're going to do a couple of things. Self.edit1.enabled is going to be false, so we can't mess around with our nickname. Self.button1.enabled is going to be false because we don't want to try to reconnect over and over and over to something we're already connected to. That would be really stupid, don't you think? So we're going to put self.button1.caption equals connected to server. And that's it. So then we're also going to I'm going to grab a timer. So we're going to put a timer on here, and the timer is going to be called send nick, and we're going to disable it, and it's going to be every half a second. So it's just a disabled timer. It does nothing right now, but whenever it is enabled, we're going to make it send over our nickname and get us and properly set us up with the server. So we're going to say self.clientsocket.send, and we're going to send over new con plus self.edit1.text. That's our nickname. All right, guys, and that's pretty much it. Then we're going to type self.sendNickTimer.enabled is equal to false. So literally the timer is only used for one thing. It's going to tick, and then it's just going to send over our info and be done. That's it. And then it's going to disable itself, okay? So when the socket detects that it is indeed connected, I'm going to make it enable the timer. So there you have it. So we're going to update the GUI and show that we are connected, and then we're going to send our nickname over, and that's it. That's literally it. So that's the client, guys. So let's call the form of this client. Let's just call it client. And that's pretty much it. Whenever the client socket does receive data, though, let's go to onRead to make it receive data from the server. And this is going to be really easy, guys. I'm just going to put self.caption is equal to A. That's it. A is a string inside of the procedure that actually helps the socket to receive information. So A is literally a string. Command is just a command character if you want. It's an optional thing. I just use A for the entire string. So we're just going to make the caption of self equal to A, which is whatever we received from the server, okay? So again, that's up here where it says client, that this is where it'll be, up here, okay, in the form's caption. All right, we're done with the client. Let's proceed with the server. This is the big part. This is the part everybody gets confused about. So let's go ahead and grab ourselves a list view, if I can type correctly. List view. There we go. One of these days I'll learn how to spell list view properly the first time. So I'm going to go to the columns editor and create two columns. We're going to make sure that they're auto-sized on both and that their width, we'll just leave that because we did auto-size. So on the first one, I'm going to do IP address, and on the second one, I'm going to do nickname. I'll just do nickname like that, nickname. I'll just put Nick. So then we're going to go down to the view style of this, and we're going to change the view style of the list view to VS report. So go all the way to the bottom, find the view style property, change it to report. Now you can actually see what you've done. See that? So I'm going to pull this on over, pull this up, pull this down, and we're going to grab ourselves a status bar. So here's a status strip. Status bar. I'm going to go to panel editor, and I'm going to create two panels. They're both going to be a width of at least 150 so we can see all the words in them. And we're going to make it, the first one is going to be server status NA. Or I could just type offline, I guess. So it's offline. And then the second one is going to be clients online. And that's just going to be like that to show nobody's connected, okay? I'm going to bring this down just a little bit to kind of match up with what we've got going on here. If you guys are wondering how I'm doing that, like with Ninja Precision, hold down the Alt button on your keyboard, and it allows you to really do this really easily. So I'm just going to grab this, hold down Alt, make sure it goes all the way over to where I want it to go, precisely with like uber ninja precision, right? And get it right where I want it to go. Perfection. And then for the caption of this form, I'm going to type in server. Okay, so we've got our graphical interface set up. We're also going to need a pop-up menu, and we're also going to need a server, which is going to be on the Diego server here, the Diego tab. So we're going to call our server's name ServerSocket, so it's easy to call in code. The pop-up menu is going to be designed to have two buttons on it, or two different selections. The first one is going to be send message to all, and this bottom one is going to be send message to selected client, okay? So we're going to assign the pop-up menu to the list view component by selecting the list view component, going all the way down until we see the pop-up menu property, and we're going to select pop-up menu 1. I'm also going to change the position of where this application shows up to the center of the screen. And I'm also going to do the same thing with this one because it's a little annoying sometimes. So let's go to position and set that to screen center. We're going to hit save. Save. Okay, great. So now we can start programming. We have the graphical interface set up. It's time to start the actual development of our application. So let's go into our code, scroll all the way to the top, and we're going to make a new type here. This is on the server, okay guys, so keep that in mind. So we're going to type the word type, and we're going to create a record to hold all of the client's connection information, which in our case is simply going to be the client's username or nickname, whatever you want to call it. So we're going to type in tClientData. This is just going to be called tClientData, which is going to be our client data. It's going to be a record. And inside of that record, we're going to have one thing, username, which is a string. And that's it. So we just have this, and guys, keep in mind, you can go as far down as you would like. You can add like how much RAM, blah, 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 CPU, blah, blah, blah. You can put whatever you want in here. It doesn't matter. But in this example, we're just simply using a username as a sort of a socket binding, if you will, to be able to lock on to certain people and only send to them and stuff like that. So we have our record. And now what we're going to do is we are going to go to the on server read event procedure, which is going to be used to be able to help us try and see, like, you know, where these guys are coming from and get their information. So we'll click on the server, click events, on client read. So when the server receives data from the opposite endpoint, which is the client. So when the server receives data from the client, this event will fire. And that's where we're going to be doing a little bit of coding. So to start out, what we're going to want to do is create some variables. So we want a string list, and we also will need client data, which is going to be a pointer to our record that we've already created, called what again? tClientData. Remember, guys, from the top of the code, if you scroll all the way up, remember how we added it up here? Okay, so you kind of get like how this is kind of clicking together a little bit. Really simple stuff, right? So then we're going to need a list item. So down in here, we're going to start our code out by creating a string list and receiving information and parsing it out. So we're going to say SL, or the string list, is equivalent to creating a tstring list. So then we're going to create it. SL dot, we're going to put SL dot delimiter is equivalent to a pipe, and then SL dot delimited text. Oops, sorry guys, I'm not very good at typing today apparently. Gosh dang it. Is going to be equal to, oh god, I already lost my mind, A. So then, and just so you guys know the connection with A here, if you look at this procedure, what do you notice? You notice that the sender is a T object, the socket, or the TDzSocket, is the socket layer of the connection that we're talking with. So in other words, this is like saying this is the person that's currently sending information to us, okay? And it has stuff inside of it, like a data pointer, which we can lock onto. And we're going to be talking more about this here in a minute. But we also get a command from them and a string from them. Now, both are basically strings, except this is a character, which means it's only one, right? Like A, B, C, D, E, you know, stuff like that. And then A is a whole string. Well, we're receiving a command from them, but we don't really care what's in the command. We're just going to ignore it, and we're just going to use the string as a command. So down below, we actually have created a string list, set its delimiter to a pipe, and we're delimiting the text A, okay? Now, one other thing that we do kind of want to do is we want to set the strict delimiter. So I would do sl.strict delimiter is equal to true. That just means you can't add more stuff in here. Like it won't allow you to put like a space or another pipe like that. Nothing like this. Like it only strictly parses it with a pipe or whatever you put as a character in between for a string here. Okay, so now that I've explained that, I'm going to come down and say if SL0 is equivalent to new con, then we're going to begin doing some code. So inside of this is where things get a little hairy. We have to create a new record holder for our person that's actively connecting into us. So we have to say new client data. Then we have to say client data dot username is equivalent to SL1, the thing that they sent to us, their nickname that they sent in SL1 that we parse through. Now, if you guys don't remember this, I'll quickly go over it real fast. So this is a string and it's cool. Okay, whatever. So parsing through this would be 0, this would be 1, this would be 2. So 0 would be this is a, 1 would be string, and 2 would be and it's cool. So what we're technically doing here, when we receive information from the client, we're receiving new con, pipe, and then whatever nickname they chose. So in other words, this is 0, and all of this over here is 1. You see that? So if 0 is new con, which is what the first command is, then SL1 must be their username, right? So string list 0 and 1, 0 and 1. You get it? Really simple stuff, guys. Really simple stuff. So we're going to come down, and now that we have set the client data, we're going to say socket.data, which is that pointer. Remember, the socket that they're currently actively communicating with us on, we're locking onto its data properties. So data, okay, so socket.data is equivalent to, we're making it equivalent to our custom client data type. So we've like modified it and took control of it. So now we're going to say create a list item, li colon equals self dot listview1 dot items dot add, and then li dot caption will be equal to socket dot remote address, which is their IP address, li dot subitems dot add sl1. And that's it. And then after we've done this, we have to update our count of people. So we're going to say self.sc or status bar 1.panels 1.text colon equals and then something. So let's go back and take a peek here and see what we've got written. Clients online 0. So we're going to simply say clients online, and then I'm going to put a little space there plus int to str self dot serversocket.count, and that will be plus that. Okay, looking good. So then what we can do, this is on read, and we will go to the on disconnect. So guys, we've set this up for on connection. So when someone new connects in, we're able to make them connect. We're able to create a string list, get the commands out, pull, put them to a record, add them to the list view, and show that they're online. Now we have to do the opposite of all that, which is to disconnect this person. So whenever we go to the TCP server's on client disconnect event procedure, this is where we're going to have to do a little bit, just a little bit less than what we did now, but it's really quite simple. All you have to do is just loop through and essentially look for the person, disconnect them, and free the memory from their record so that we keep our memory freed up on Microsoft Windows. So for this, we're going to create a variable, and we're going to call it client data, which is going to be a pointer to, you guessed it, our client data record pointer from earlier. Then we're going to come down and we're going to make I as an integer so we can begin looping through stuff. So between the begin and the end, we're going to write some code. And the first thing we're going to go ahead and do is set client data equivalent to socket.data. So we're literally looking into the socket that's currently disconnecting, and we're saying, hey, our data becomes this data that we're looking into, okay? Now we have the power and ability to loop them and look for the exact person that we're looking to get rid of, and basically get rid of them. So we're going to say for I is equal to 0 to self dot list view 1 dot items dot count minus 1. This is just a good way to loop through the list view. We're going to begin and do a little loop here. So we're going to put if self dot list view 1 dot items I, the current one we're looping over, dot sub items 0, which is their nickname, is equivalent to client data dot username, then begin, and we're going to do another kind of if statement down in here, which loops it even further down into it, and we're going to say that if we found that person, then obviously we have to delete their list view item and free up their memory. So we're going to say self.listview1.items I dot delete, and then we're going to come down and say socket.data equals nil. We're going to free up that memory, and then we're going to dispose of our record pointer. And then we're going to break out of the loop because we're done. Okay, and that disconnects the person from the server. However, we do also want to, once this is completed, it would be a good idea to come down to the bottom of this code and break out of the loop and all that stuff. And it would be a good idea to update our thing like we did down here, our count of people online. So we're just going to copy that same code and paste it, and we're done. I'll try to make it look neater for you guys. There you go. So just save this project. Now we have to do a little coding on the pop-up menu. So on the pop-up menu, if you'll remember, we have two different selections here. We have a message to all and message to a selected client. So let's go ahead and take a quick gander at the broadcast message. So we're going to literally send a message to everyone that's connected. So we're going to go to that code, and we're going to start programming. So we're going to make a variable I as an integer, and then we're going to come down and say client is a TDzSocket. Now this is what most people got a little confused on these sockets. If you read the documentation for them, it's actually quite simple. The gentleman who wrote these socket components, these DzSockets, he clearly states that if you want to get down to socket layer and be able to do stuff with this, all you have to do is declare a TDzSocket. And if you know what you're doing, you just loop through the objects, find the one you're looking for, and then declare that person or line per se, TCP connection, as a TDzSocket, and then you're able to communicate with it back and forth, etc., etc. In this case, the reason I'm explaining this is because we're doing this on an S1 click, so we're outside of the boundaries of the socket's procedures, like disconnect and stuff like this and that. Up until now, we haven't had to use a TDzSocket because socket is a TDzSocket inside of these procedures, and we don't have to declare it in our own little localized variables here. Instead, it's already done for us in the procedure. But since we're out of the boundaries of the socket's control, we're going to tap into that by declaring a TDzSocket and being able to do whatever we'd like to do with it. So if you guys pay attention, we're going to type in, we're going to lock the list first. So we're going to lock up our server and make it to where we want to lock it so that if other things are happening, like people are trying to connect rapidly, etc., etc., because when you're looping through people and sending messages, you don't want to, you may or may not want to send data to newly connected people. You have to think ahead. You see what I'm trying to get at? Like if you're sending mass amounts of data and you're sending it to people who just connected in who may not be ready to receive that type of data yet because they're not even loaded in 100%, it's a good idea to lock the server list and perform whatever duties you need to do and then unlock that server list. So we're going to type in self.serversocket.lock. Then we're going to come down and say for, and we're going to do a for object. We're actually going to loop through all of the clients. So for each client in self.serversocket, do begin. So now we're going to type in client.send, and we're going to put a C for that, and then we're going to type in this is message to all. I'll just do some weird thing like that. Really simple stuff, guys. And once we've done this, we're going to come down here and type self.serversocket.unlock. And there you have it. That's how you broadcast a message. Really simple, right? So now that we've done that one, let's go ahead and go back and do our next one, which is to the selected client. So on this one, we're going to do the same thing we did here, but with one extra step. Because remember, this is to send to everyone, but on this one we need to be able to kind of look at everyone, but find that one special person we're looking for and just send to them, right? So we're going to create some variables here. I is an integer, client is a TDzSocket, and we also want to create, you guessed it, a pointer to our record. Client data is equivalent to a data record pointer, so it's a pointer to our record, T client data. So now down below, we want to simply start doing what we got to do. So we're going to say, if no one is selected to send to, then exit this procedure and do nothing, just as a precaution. If self.listView1.selected is equal to nil, then exit. Otherwise, we're going to go down into our code and start writing some stuff. So we're going to do our little lock thing, and then we're going to loop. So self.DzServerSocket.lock, and then we're going to go for, and then we're going to type in client in self.serversocket do begin end. So then we're going to say client data is equivalent to the socket.data, and what we'll do here guys, let me back this up a little bit. So what we're going to do is we're going to type client data is equivalent to client.data. Then we're going to come down and type if client data dot username is equivalent to self.listview1 dot selected dot subitems 0, which is the person's nickname that we should have selected. Then begin doing something with that said person, client.send. And we're going to simply send a message to only that one person. So private message just to you. That's what we'll write, okay? And then what we're going to do is we are going to Control D this out. And if we get this far, we're going to break out of the loop, okay? Now remember, we locked our server. We got to remember to unlock it. So down here, down below, we're going to unlock our server so it can continue doing things, right? All right, guys, I think that pretty much does it for the entirety of this application. So let's just give it, for shits and gigs, let's just give it a go just right now. I might be forgetting something, but let's just give it a go and see if it works. So we can right click. We've got all of our stuff here. That looks good. This says offline, but it's actually probably online. Let me go ahead back here, go to on create, because we are going to have to set that up. I totally forgot. So here's where we need to set up the server socket to listen and then update the GUI to show the server is online and working. Self.serversocket1.port is equal to 34. Let's just do 3434, same as the client's trying to connect on, self.serversocket.open. And then update GUI to show it's on. Self.statusbar1.panels 0, 1, let's just do 1.text equals something. And actually this is going to be 0 in the first place. So for this, we have server status offline. Let's just do server status online. And that's it. That's pretty much it. Let's give this a run and see what happens, okay? I'll probably have to allow it through my firewall. Yeah, as you can clearly see, I'll allow that to listen to the Windows firewall. The status is online. We're waiting for people. That's great. Let's head over to our other thing here, the client itself, and give this a run. Just for shits and gigs, let's see if this actually shows up. I'm going to type in Billy, and I'm going to hit connect. And as you can clearly see, Billy is actively connected. Now, if I disconnect Billy, it didn't actually update my clients. So let's go back to the server and try to get that fixed as well with something else as well. On the list view, guys, it's really important. I forgot to do this the other day when I was making the other video for you guys. You really want to make sure that row select and read only are checked. So make sure that row select is on and make sure read only is true. That way you can't edit stuff in here. And when you select on something, it's going to like select the entire row of information. So let's go ahead and go to let's go to the disconnect event procedure and take a look at what we have inside of this. So this is I don't like this, to be honest with you guys. I'm gonna take it out, just make it like really simple for ourselves. Let's just erase this out of here. I don't like the way the socket keeps up with stuff, because if the procedure's not over, that means it doesn't actually take down the count, and I don't want to call a different procedure to do anything, so I'm just going to call connected clients is an integer. When the form gets created, I'm going to say the connected clients equals 0 because no one's connected, and then whenever the socket reads information, I'm going to say down here self.connected clients equals self.connected clients plus 1, and then I'm going to update the information. So I'm going to put self.statusbar1.panels 1.text equals connected clients, and then plus int to str self dot connected clients, and that's pretty much all there is to it. Just do a little closing bracket like that. So now we can take this code, these two lines right here, and take them up to the on disconnected event procedure, paste them here, except instead of adding person, we're going to minus a person. Okay, great. Problem solved, I do believe. Let's give it a run and see what happens. And if it works with one client, I'm going to assume it's finished and go ahead and give it a test run, and we'll see what it looks like together, okay? So for this, I would like to say his name is Billy, and then I'm going to connect him on in, and as you can clearly see, Billy has indeed connected. So let's try to disconnect Billy, and as you can see, it works just fine. So I'm going to assume that it is working. Let's give this a go. So I'm going to run the server, and I'm going to run, let's say, 4 things of the client. So on the clients, I'm going to pull 1, 2, 3, and 4 out where we can see them. So Sally, Billy, Nick, and Rob. So let's go ahead and get these boys connected in. And then let's click on Rob. Actually, let's do Sally first, or Billy. So when we right-click on Billy, let's send a message to all. So every single person here should receive what I'm about to send. So I'm going to hit this, and as you can see, boom. Every single person connected to our server received this is a message to all, right? So now we're going to try Billy. So keep an eye on Billy down here in the right-hand corner. I'm going to right-click on Billy, and I'm going to send a message only to Billy, to that selected client, which is Billy, okay? And it says private message just to you. You see that? So then I'm going to try Rob. So let's try just him, and he got it as well. Sally, it works, and then Nick, and it works, and then send to all. And there you have it. And so let's try disconnecting Nick. Nick goes bye-bye. If I want to disconnect Sally, or Rob, which is in the middle, he goes bye-bye. Sally goes bye-bye. Billy goes bye-bye. Perfect. That's how you do a multi-connection server socket with Delphi and the DzSocket components. So guys, I hope that you enjoy my video. Leave a like, subscribe if you want more content like this. Next up is going to be doing the same exact thing, except we're going to be using the netcom socket library, which is significantly more powerful than both of these libraries that I just recently showed you in these videos. Anyway guys, I will catch you in the next video. Peace out.